Hello, and welcome to my presentation of my case study of the Finn Lofts and their greater parent company, Dorado Inc. My name is Kyle DiMaggio, and this is a presentation for the LTU CoAD 3942 research methods. To start, this presentation will have three main parts, the first being the Discord, in which we will discuss the who, what, where, and why of the Finn Lofts and Dorado in general. The second part is the connection, which deals with whom, meaning the people. It deals with people to people, people to their environment, and the environment's impact on the people. And this includes the situation and decision making for El Dorado for projects like the Finn Lofts and a few other ones. And the third part will be the program, where we'll look at the site, the program itself, or my discourse on the program, and El Dorado's use of light within the Finn Lofts and a few other of their works. So to start, we're going to look at discourse. With who, what, where, and why, we first need to look at the city of Wichita, Kansas, which is where the Finn Lofts is located as a whole first. A few quick information or stats on the city. It has a population of just under a quarter or just over a quarter of a million people. It has a median age of in the mid 30s. About half the people are married. It has a medium to low household income and per capita income, so it's generally a more affordable area. The Finn Lofts itself, as you can see on the right, are located within a major commercial area of Wichita, Kansas, and this is due to the history of Finn Lofts being a former broomstick manufacturer. However, they are now located in what is now become known as the Arts District of Wichita and of Kansas. So they're in a prime location for new urban revival and interest. There's plenty to do, and there's plenty of support around the Finn Lofts, be it commercial, industrial, parks and open spaces. Residential is not too far away, and there's already existing bike paths and other planned uh, extensions of these bike paths. They're located next to a major river and freeway, so they're easily accessible. And also, there's an old and still functioning for some of them railway tracks that go behind the Finn Lofts. So it is accessible through multiple means and visible through multiple different aspects. Looking ahead to the actual project itself, like I stated earlier, it was started in the 1920s as a broom factory, and it was a point of cargo for nearby trains. In the 70s, it was purchased by John Finn, whom the building now gets its namesake for. And Finn also owned a few other buildings in what is now the Commerce Street Art District area. The design for the Lofts itself came about for a desire to give the area something. El Dorado has worked in Wichita and Kansas for a lot of their work, and especially in this area, they actually got started off in a similar area not too far from here, and really liked the community and wanted to give the community something that it can be proud of, something that can help bolster the community. And one of the things that they looked at needing maybe was some more mixed income residencies, being in the form of lofts. These lofts have a variety of ranges to them and a variety of sizes to them as well. In addition, to make the space more usable, more attractive, they decided to make it so that the space had commercial on the bottom and retail on the bottom, as well as work live and more dedicated residential at the top. The revitalization of this kind of setup can be likened to the Russell Industrial Center and how it's located in an area of Detroit where there is a lot of urban, residential, and commercial businesses, as well as it's located in an industrial sector of Detroit, as you can see on the right. Moving ahead now to connection, this is regarding with people. As with many projects in architecture nowadays, people are obviously the main source of concern. So El Dorado took this into account and careful consideration when working on this project. The lofts themselves are able to hold up to 27 different residencies at varying types of spaces and price ranges. But this is also a type of project that El Dorado has become well versed in, as you can see along the midspan of the presentation. They have worked with several other series of residential living spaces, many of which have been revitalizations and repurposings, as the two on the left show, with the Park Central apartments and the Lux apartments. Both were either old apartment buildings, as with the Central apartments, or with repurposing of old business and industrial buildings, like the Lux apartments. El Dorado has also had a lot of experience with designing from scratch, but also taking into considerations the past with the building of stuff like the Botwin building, Echo Ridge duplexes, where they take the idea or ideals of what was there before, what the community is looking for, and then interpret those into affordable living and affordable residencies. So when looking with residencies, you need to look at a people-to-people connection as well as a people-to-environment connection. And lastly, a people-to-city connection, which El Dorado does. A people-to-people connection can be easily attained by just having people within close quarters of each other, like in apartment-style residencies, where you're bound to see people and interact with people. The people-to-environment is more so looking at how people will interact with their new environment, and vice versa, the environment will then interact with them. So in the case of something like the Finn Lofts, people are able to interact with their environment because of the fact that it's a multi-use residency. It has commercial, it has work-live spaces in it. So people are able to go from the residencies and to do more in this building than just live and sleep, as well as outside people who don't live in the residencies are able to come and experience them. People to city is how the people will then interact from their environment with the greater city itself. This can be easily obtained by, again, making the point of residencies a point of destination, as with the case of Finn Lofts, as with the case of many of these other projects. They are parts of these cities that once held a very significant impact on the city and are a very, very visual part of the city. So when people see these things being repurposed, taken care of, people living there, there's lights on in the windows, it sends shockwaves throughout the rest of the city and creates overwhelmingly positive results. The reason for these kind of close connections is due to the idea that it's predicted that in the next 10 to 20 years, a vast majority of the world's population will be moving back to the cities. And in many cases, cities have begun to experience and have been trying to fight with this idea of urban sprawl, as you can see in the bottom, where it's just row upon row of subdivisions, tightly packed houses, and our planet plainly cannot sustain this type of living and construction. So it is therefore on the task of people like El Dorado to create these environments, these habitats that are more vertical, but are also repurposing and reutilizing already existing space instead of going out to undeveloped space and nature and destroying it for the same purpose that can be fulfilled with these high rises or these refurbished buildings. Lastly, we want to look at the program. Program being the site, the program itself, and light. The site, again, it's in the Commerce Art District of Wichita. It's located next to many main means of thoroughfare and many points of interest within the city, and it's also an historical building within the city and the art district itself. The program looks at how this thing came together. They basically had this box of this old warehouse that they then pushed and pulled different aspects of it to help it to be repurposed and fulfill a new purpose in itself. Light is something that has been there's a very important part of El Dorado's thinking, El Dorado's work, as is in the case of the Finn Lofts, because it was an old old warehouse, excuse me. It didn't have as much light as would be needed probably to make a comfortable living environment for many people. And because there was a lot of space, it had a large footprint, there was room for more residencies, but then also that meant more people needed to get natural light. So the development of, or the idea of borrowing vertical as well as horizontal light through the use of light wells, through different openings, through types of fixtures and apparatuses that would allow direct, diffuse, and disseminated light to penetrate these spaces, helped to create a much more comfortable and efficient living environment. Thank you for your patience and for listening to this report on the El Dorado Lofts case study. Once again, my name is Kyle DiMaggio, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much.